Kacey Musgraves' Deeper Well album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Miss Kacey Musgraves, Texas-based singer-songwriter, modern country darling, and someone that I have a lot of respect for. Now, I don't really talk about a lot of country on this channel, and it's not because I hate it or anything like that. Generally, I do kind of stray away from the poppier side of country, but that's just me. However, I've always kind of warmed up to Kacey's music quicker than most. I mean, when her debut album, Same Trailer, Different Park, came out, I just had the biggest smile on my face listening to this album. And it's not one that I thought that I was going to even enjoy at the time, but I did at the end of the day. I don't know, just Kacey's demeanor and just the sunny, sweet lyrics and just good vibes of this record just made me smile. And if that was the case for her debut, I am just so much more of a fan of her follow-up album, Pageant Material. I've always thought that this was just a real, all-around great modern country record. I mean, how can you go wrong with tracks like Biscuits? I mean, I'm smiling just thinking about it. And with her next album, she just casually put out one of the most significant country albums of the last decade with Golden Hour. I mean, once again, the sense of wonder and adventure and love on this record, and the songwriting, which is just, so sweet. Once again, it just puts me in a good mood, man. I can't be mad listening to this. Now, the last time we heard from Kacey was in 2021 with her Star-Crossed album. Now, on one hand, I saluted the fact that she was taking a lot of risks. The very modern production of this album was interesting, and not only that, but the drama, especially on the first half of this thing, was really gritty, actually, surprisingly so. However, I have to admit, the second half of the record has really fallen off for me, and I don't think it's that good of a record anymore, at least as good as I did when it first came out. Now, leading up to this album, it was kind of clear from the singles that this is a very different album from Miss Musgraves. She's going much more in a folk direction and less of a country direction, but that's not completely a bad thing. This album starts off with Cardinal, and honestly, it's a really cool single all around. It's upbeat, it's hazy, it's a little surreal, it's very dreamlike. It gives me almost like Melody's Echo Chamber vibes. Like, it's really cool and unique for Kacey. Throw in some really interesting storytelling throughout this thing, you've got an awesome single. It's just warm and inviting and strangely timeless at the end of the day. And this is a really great intro track because this is far from just, Kacey's usual. This is far from her just putting out another country album. And it works really well, as does the title track to this album, Deeper Well. This is a charming, very springy folk tune with a little upbeat jig to it. This is a charming, upbeat, very wintry folk track that just seems ready for a spring day. And it's just really well done once again. That sense of storytelling throughout this record is, once again, one of Kacey's best strengths. And it does have that same sense of wonder as albums like Golden Hour did a few years ago. But it's also a very mature sound. I mean, it's very cute and sweet and light on the ears and just really charming, but it's also got this real great sense of like self-care to it. It's very warm, very inviting. It's really perfect for either, a really nice early spring morning or a nice autumn late night. Also, too good to be true, I struggle to not call this my track of the album. This is a beautiful track. This is one of the more true blue, by the books, old school singer-songwriter folk tunes here, but it's done in a really good way. It's stripped down, and it's just so incredibly pure. It's just so incredibly full of love. It almost brings a tear to my eye. It's just so universal and easy to take in. And I see y'all online. I see some people talking smack about the lyrics on this record, how it's some of Kacey's weakest work. No. I mean, yeah, some of the later tracks maybe, but like, come on, this is gorgeous. And moving out is just so sunny and inviting. Once again, nearly impossible for me to be in a bad mood listening to this. I mean, a lot of the tracks on this album just find beauty in normal, everyday occurrences, and something about that is incredibly charming. I mean, instrumentally, this is not reinventing the wheel. Far from it. This is pretty straightforward stuff. But it is incredibly likable. Also, a lot of the same feelings on Sway. I mean, the poppier side of folk music, y'all fan base, you should be very happy with this. It's so carefree and just instantaneous, and Kacey's vocals melt my heart. There's a very old school singer-songwriter feel to this, and I really do appreciate that. Not only that, but just a serious appreciation for life and love. And that makes me a very happy boy. Now, this is a very mature album for Miss Musgraves, and I will say this, with maturing comes some growing pains. Like Give or Take Her. Take this track for example. Early on in the album, this actually makes me miss some of Kacey's old stuff. This track has a lot more stop and go elements to it, a lot of awkwardness here that's just plain not really pleasant on the ears, and songwriting is some of the weirdest and just not interesting stuff on this entire record. Also, this track is 3 minutes 11 seconds long. It feels well over 6 minutes. Dinner with Friends, this ain't either, sadly. Dinner with Friends, this ain't it either, sadly. A lot of these later tracks on the album actually kind of get a little faceless, which is what I was worried about initially. This one's just a little too straightforward for me, especially instrumentally, and because of that, this track just breezes by and I really do not grab anything from it. Like, it's just okay. Like, if you told me this was a Kacey Musgraves song, I would be absolutely dumbstruck because I feel like her caliber is so much more than this. And sadly, I have a lot of the same feelings on Heart of the Woods. It's just kind of average. This doesn't have that same heart and passion that the first few tracks here did. And at barely over 2 minutes here, this one really doesn't have a lot to stand on. It just blows right past and really doesn't grab me again. Like, once again, I feel like this is Kacey just kind of phoning it in. This doesn't even sound like her. It doesn't have her personality. Heaven Is, I think Kacey just pushes it a little too much here. We're going to get to The Architect eventually, but for right now, this is a little too preachy. It just feels thrown together and not really interesting. And nothing to be scared of. As a finale, I just don't think this track really needed to be here. We're going to get to it, but I feel like Anime Eyes, if anything, is a better finale. It's not bad, it's just not exciting. It doesn't warm me up either because it sounds like 8 other tracks here. It's not a complete miss, but Kacey just needs to tighten a couple of things up. Because, honestly, I still do kind of like this album, at least a little bit. It's far from the worst thing in this sound that I've heard in a while. And on top of that, there's still a lot of great surprises to come, like Jade Green, which is an awesome track. Easily the best deep cut here. It's got that upbeat fire to it. It's got like that real heart and burning desire. It reminds me of some like early Laura Marling. This is Kacey's own way of, getting into that determined state. And it actually comes off really, really good. All of that without losing any of the aura of this album's best moments. And The Architect, say what you will, I think this track is kind of stunning. It is one of the more spiritual tracks in Kacey's discography, but honestly, when done well, it can make for a very powerful track, and that's what this is. It's another sweet on the ears and incredibly visual track from Kacey with some great songwriting. Also, really love Lonely Millionaire. Once again, lyric-wise, this is Kacey putting out some really compelling stuff. Also, the interpolation of Lou Reed's Perfect Day, it's really not that bad. It's pretty classy. And on top of that, I really love Kacey's very smoky performance. And Anime Eyes, late in the album, it's a real treat because this track is freaking adorable. And yes, I saw a track on a Kacey Musgraves album. And yes, I saw a track on a Kacey Musgraves album called Anime Eyes, and I got scared. And yes, it is 1,000,000,000% one of the cheesiest tracks that Kacey has wrote in a really long time. But I don't know what it is, but this track absolutely just melts my heart and actually warms my soul. It is so sweet. It is like that feeling of meeting your special someone for the first time and wanting to say all those cheesy things that for years you hated to hear. But I think what makes this track work is the sincerity of it. This track is so genuine. And as an avid fan of Sailor Moon, it's going to take a while for me to come to terms with the fact that she has nothing on Kacey. But yeah, this is so sweet. This is a fine album from Kacey Musgraves. I don't think that it's her worst work. I've heard, some worse tracks from here throughout her discography. She tries something new here. She gets into the folky and singer-songwriter world, and for the most part, it sounds okay. She just needs to tighten things up a little bit because there's some growing pains. But for now, I'm feeling a very strong 6 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.